What is up, Commentary Nation? It's me again, Commentary. And today, guys, I have a question for you. A question that needs an answer right now. What do you get if you mix together a small cylinder, a mini M&M's tube, butter, and microwaved mashed bananas? Think about it. Keep thinking. A huge fucking problem. That's what you get. That's right, folks. Today, I'm going to share with you the Reddit mini M&M tube incident in which a user turned to the collective brain power of the Ask Reddit community for guidance on freeing his cylinder from the vessel in which it was stuck. Now, before we get into it, folks, I do want to mention that I am currently traveling, so this is probably going to be a shorter video than normal. I should be back next week for another normal length commentary video in your subscription box, so stay tuned. On Tuesday, December 6th of 2022, Reddit user SmartCalendar1874 ran into some user error when attempting an experiment that I figure few men have been brave enough to try themselves. SmartCalendar took to Ask Reddit to detail his experiment and engage with the community in asking for help finding a solution to the problem that he was now experiencing. He wrote, "How would you get a small cylinder, 5.1 inches in length, roughly 4.5 inches in girth, unstuck from a mini M&M's tube filled with butter and mashed microwaved banana?" Now, I think it's important we analyze what SmartCalendar was working with here. According to other Reddit users, the mouth of a mini M&M tube is about the same diameter as a standard American quarter, that being 0.955 inches. Doing some basic math, we can find that the circumference of the mouth of the tube is about 3 inches exactly. Girth is a measure of circumference, meaning that the cylinder, having a circumference of 4.5 inches, certainly was stuck and pressing hard against the inside of the mini M&M's tube. Now, mini M&M tubes come in two lengths. There's a 5.5 inch version and an 11-inch version. SmartCalendar did not specifically mention which version he was using, but since butter and bananas accompanied the cylinder in the mini M&M's tube, I think it is safe to assume that he was using the larger 11-inch version. This would mean that the 5.1-inch cylinder, theoretically, could have been completely encased within the tube, though it does seem unlikely. To date, there is still debate on what tube size SmartCalendar was using. Let's get into some of the proposed solutions by the Ask Reddit users and what SmartCalendar had to say about them. This user writes, "Need to get air in there to release the pressure. I would advise using a high-powered drill to drill a hole in the bottom of the M&M container. This will allow air to enter. The larger the drill bit, the better." Now, I've included an illustration on screen from another Reddit user of the physics behind this solution. However, SmartCalendar says, "I can't risk power tools damaging the interior cylinder." So obviously, the cylinder inside the M&M's tube is of value to the original poster and cannot be damaged. This user writes, "I'm an engineer, so your best bet here is to use pressure. Imagine the piston in an engine. That's not your cylinder. When pressure builds up, like combustion inside of a cylinder, it pushes the piston out. Don't try to argue this. Pistons never get stuck in the top dead center position. You need to poke a hole in the end of your M&M tube and inject some accelerant. Nail polish remover will be perfect. Then simply add fire near the hole, and boom! Your cylinder and the tube will no longer be stuck together." However, SmartCalendar notes, nail polish remover's high vapor pressure might cause discomfort by drying the external layer of the cylinder out. So that's a non-starter too. The next suggestion is simple. Cut the tube. However, SmartCalendar says, "I don't want to risk a blade coming that close to the cylinder," which does sound important. So, another user says, "How about squeezing the tube over and over such that it cracks from fatigue?" Now, that's a unique suggestion, but SmartCalendar says the interior cylinder is too big to effectively bend the plastic enough. Another non-starter. Now, this next comment is both a solution as well as a recommendation for some further brain power Smart Calendar can tap into to find a solution to his problem. This user writes, maybe try asking the pros at r/don't put your dick in that. The M&M tube seems like relatively flimsy plastic. Get a pair of scissors and start snipping along the long axis. Once you get enough separation to be able to grip the plastic with pliers, pull it apart. This should get your dick free. However, the mistake that this user made was assuming that it was the original poster's dick in an M&M tube. Smart Calendar affirms that it's a cylinder that's stuck. In another comment, a user asks what material is the cylinder made of, and Smart Calendar responds primarily carbon. It's a variety of organic compounds. So this does give us a little more information about the cylinder that we're working with. Another suggestion was from this user who writes, cut the cylinder free from the larger object to give you more access. Cut the M&M's container. If you freeze it, the plastic will break easy with the smash of a hammer. Reattach the cylinder after removal from the tube. If you have trouble reattaching the cylinder, there are repair specialists that can assist for a fee. Depends how much you value the cylinder at. And Smart Calendar writes, it is imperative that the cylinder and the larger object remain unharmed. After hours of discussions, theory crafting, debates, 3,000 comments, and 42,000 upvotes, the original poster, Smart Calendar, left a comment letting us know what solution he would be moving forward with. On reading this comment, the entire Reddit community, and potentially the entire internet, breathed a collective sigh of relief, and it was one word, one simple word: hospital. Smart Calendar decided to go to the hospital and let the medical professionals take a crack at freeing his cylinder from the M&M's tube. From what I can tell from looking over Smart Calendar's Reddit account, there was no follow-up post indicating that the cylinder was still stuck in the tube, so we can be left to assume that following his trip to the hospital, the cylinder was freed and he went on like normal. However, there is potential that Smart Calendar did try this experiment again. One last comment I'll share is this user who said, have you tried inserting another cylinder into the M&M's tube from the other side? And Smart Calendar writes, if the tube had an opening on the other end, it would not be sealed. I will keep that in mind next time I try this experiment. With no further posts from Smart Calendar about this topic, as I mentioned, it is safe to assume that further experimentation was more successful than this initial trial. Perhaps he took precautions to prevent the cylinder from being lodged in future experiments and was able to achieve results the likes we haven't seen before. This has been the Reddit M&M tube incident. Please leave a comment about your thoughts on what the cylinder was, what you would have done in this situation, and what measures people who find this video can take to prevent their cylinders from being lodged in the future. This has been Commentary. Like the video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it, and I am out.